How's it going, Exiled? So we have the new league running and it is rough. So everybody probably noticed that game is just so much more difficult than before. Skills deal like so much less damage than before. It is really hard to just get through the campaign, and I actually enjoy that. So right now I'm playing a Frost Mage minion build, and it kind of gets me through the campaign. So I'm like making it through Act 3 right now, but I just want to make a little showcase. So maybe if you're like struggling with minions because you stay playing like Arsonist or trying to make SRS work in any kind of way, maybe you want to consider this build. It is really strong because we have freezing, and the frost bombs from the frost mages are doing decent AoE. We can use the frost bomb for free exposure, we can use hypothermia for more damage. So overall it just feels like a very defensive build with a lot of freeze. It makes bosses relatively easy because you can freeze them very heavily and then nuke them down with your frost mages. So I kind of enjoy it. I'm getting done with most of the bosses just fine. Regular content is fairly easy, even rare mobs are not that difficult. Yes, they sometimes take a little longer, but you know, it is like it is. But you know, one thing I would highly recommend is go for trade. If you like play minion and you're not trading and you're like not having +4 minion skills or +3 minion skills, it's gonna be rough. You really have to be on top of the content. You might even have to overlevel the content because it's just so freaking hard. So anyway, I don't want to talk about this build too much. You can check it live on stream if you want. Also, as always, make sure to check the links in the description down below. We have all the sections for this guide, the skills, the passive tree and the items in this case, and we also have trade links as always. I have trade links for this in the description down below. They're not very updated, so you have to fill in your level basically to fit your needs, but you can use them if you need some help, and I really highly recommend investing every exalt or alchemy you kind of, you know, get a hold of to just trade for better gear, because there's people who are far ahead of you, and it's gonna make your life just so much easier to trade for decent gear. That being said, without further ado, let's go into the guide and we're gonna start with the skills. Alright, let's look at the skills. So first of all, I'm playing a Scepter with Discipline here. If you're in the earlier game, you want to play the Rattling Scepter with the Skeletons, but, you know, as soon as you reach, like, some kind of a little bit later state, like, you know, level 26 or something like that, you want to switch to Discipline. Like, the little Skeletons really don't do anything, and this really gives your minions so much more survivability, so I highly recommend doing this. And if you have enough Spirit, I highly recommend fitting Clarity in. If you don't have the Spirit, you know, you can fix your mana regeneration elsewhere, but you know, for 10 Spirit, this is pretty much just a free 30% mana regeneration if you can fit it. And then we have Skeletal Frost Mage, obviously, so most important here is going to be the level on the skeletons. And I have +4 right now. I have +2 on my Scepter and +2 on my helmet. You can get more on the amulet, but you know, this is the best thing I can come up for now. And this, most importantly, is Ice Bomb. So Ice Bomb is the highest damage this does, right? The Ice Shard does okay damage, but the Ice Bomb is definitely the most important here. So try to use the Ice Bomb, like with the command skeleton, as much as possible. Right now I'm using Last Gasp here, so they just, you know, especially in boss fights, if these die, it just helps so much if they last just longer. And, you know, I'm using Arcane Temper right now. Probably this is gonna get switched for something else, but I'm probably gonna wait for like a tier 2 support gems here. And then next thing we have Frostbolt. I really just use it to freeze stuff. It doesn't really do any damage. So we just use Glaciation here for more freeze and Scatter Shot so we can cover more area. Then Frost Bomb is mainly for applying exposure, also this doesn't do huge damage. We use Spell Cascade here to cover more area, and right now I'm using Inspiration, it's just a random gem, so you can pretty much just ignore this gem here, so all you need is Frost Bomb with Spell Cascade, and as soon as you get level 2 support gems, you will put Strip Away on here for more exposure. Then we have Hypothermia as our self-cast curse. We mainly use it on elites and bosses here. We have Magnified Effect and Hate and Curse for more magnitude here. So this is very important. The curse is really nice. Like, since damage is very low and, you know, mobs have like a gazillion of hit points, it really helps to, you know, cast your curse. And as soon as I get Blasphemy, I will probably switch this to Blasphemy here. And as soon as I got more or if I don't switch it to Blasphemy, as soon as I get more weapon set points, I will make a dedicated cursing set to give this much more impact. Then we have Pain Offering. I mainly use it for bosses, sometimes for strong elites, so this gives you a decent buff to your minions, but it's not huge actually because it's just increased, so this is really reduced by a lot. This used to be very, very strong, but right now I think I might even skip this because, yes, attack and cast speed is nice, but mainly, as we told you from our frost skeletons, mainly the frost bomb is doing damage, and I don't think this is gonna benefit from attack and cast speed, but maybe it is. So this might get swapped. And right now I'm just using persistence, so it lasts longer. And then last but not least, Essence Drain. You will use this mainly in the early game to do boss damage. Because the damage over time part of this is fairly huge, so you basically only have to cast it like once every 3 seconds, and it ticks for the, chaos damage. It just does much, much more damage than Frostbolt here. But, at the very end, or well, at the very end, like right now I'm in Act 3, but the skeletons do way more damage than this. But this has Swift Affliction for more damage over time. But, so this is a decent spell if you struggle with single target damage. Right, let's go over the gear. So most importantly is here, you want to trade for gear. Really, I highly recommend if you are in Trade League, the game is rough, so do yourself a favor and trade. I'm getting all these items for 1 Exalt or 1 Alchemy. I focus first of all on my weapon here. You want to have +2 minion skills as soon as you hit level 33. Before you want to have +1. You want to have as much spirit on this as possible. This is not a great one. So this is one of my next items which is going to be replaced. Mana regeneration is nice, and also minions in your presence deal more damage is also very nice here. So this is a 1 Exalt Scepter. And again, try to get discipline if possible. Then for your helmet, pretty much the only important thing is +2 minion skills. I bought this with just the +2 minion skills, and I happened to regal 83 maximum life on it, which was pretty nice. This was also a 1 Exalt pickup. And I'm going for armor focus here mainly. So next thing we have the amulet. So you can either go +1 minions or you can go plus spirit. Both currently doesn't exist on the market, at least not for like a decent price. So if you have a lot of currency, I would pick up spirit and minion skills. Everything else here, nice is mana regeneration. So I'm basically just keeping this because it has such a high mana regeneration value here. But this is also going to be replaced very soon. This is also like in the 1 Exalt range. Then last but not least, for the 1 Exalt items is going to be your chest piece. So in your chest piece, you really just want to have, as much spirit as possible and, some random stuff, resistances, maximum life, whatever you like. And I try to focus armor, energy shield, or flat armor here. And as always, the trade links are in the description down below. They are not updated, so you might have to update the level, and but the cost is usually in there. So this is also just 1 Exalt. Then for the focus, I just get a random focus with, maximum mana and energy shield and some resistances here. Cast speed doesn't really matter all that much here. And this is 1 alchemy. So for the rings, I also picked them up for 1 alchemy each. This is maximum life. Rarity is nice on a ring, but this is going to be replaced because mana regeneration is just so low. This one here is pretty decent. We have big maximum life and big mana regeneration and some chaos resistance. Also 1 alchemy. My belt is just a random belt with max life, mana, some armor, and also just 1 alchemy piece. Same goes for boots, just get 20% movement speed and random stats, resistances. Just use the weighted sums and, pick whatever you like. Resistances are not so important in the early game right now, so it's probably going to be, once we start with Cruel, it's going to become more important. But this is also mainly focused on the 20% movement speed, and this is just some random gloves. So these don't really do anything for me anymore. I might just throw them on the market because these are probably worth something. You want to just replace them by maximum life, mana, and, some magic find or some resistances, for example. So let's take a look at the passive tree. So first of all, we get the Necromantic Conduit because it just gives us like 30% more damage effectively. Lose 5% maximum mana per second is really annoying. So you really have to compensate this with a lot of mana regeneration. As you can see, I have like 600 mana and I'm like level 34 or something like that. You really have to combat this. So if you don't want to invest into like trading mana regeneration gear, I would not spec this. I think in solo self-found, you cannot really use this without having access to a lot of mana regeneration. So then for the tree, we just basically go all minion damage here. And, we just use attributes to satisfy our item requirements. Then first we get like this wheel and we get revive faster. This one you would pick up a little bit later. This one is nice, but I also would pick up this a little bit later. So if you're starting out, get this wheel and get the spirit. And these ones here come at the very end pretty much. After that, you go here. And this is your first target basically, right? So you start here, go up here, you go here, you just pick this spirit, you continue here, you go here, and you get this node. After that, you get this node, and then you start passing over here and get this cluster. This is at least how I like to play it. At the beginning, if you struggle with mana regeneration, I take these 4 points here. And you can also take this if you struggle with, survivability. But if you don't have good mana regeneration on your rings and your amulet and stuff like that yet, this really, really helps sustaining the mana from the necromantic conduit. And then, the next target is basically going to be, finish this cluster, and then we probably go into minion survivability if required.